All right, everybody, if you're back, my name is Brian Engelman. This is the Unhappy Hour here on the TNAM network because the news always matters. Oh, make sure that you subscribe to youtube.com/The New American Media. Go ahead and get our vid.me/The New American Media account. Get that going because YouTube is censoring and demonetizing and hiding and shadow banning a lot of the stuff whenever I post things that discuss the news or current events. They're messing with the channel, so we got to double down. We're on vid.me, and we're probably going to add a few other channels as well, so make sure you're following us there. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. Facebook.com/The New American Media. Oh, Instagram. We got a good Instagram page, Instagram.com/The Unhappy Hour. Okay, there we go. I want to get to the comments because if you're in the Unhappy Hour group, it's a private group. It's called The Unhappy Hour Sports Show, a support group. Private group, join the group, and then you can watch on this camera. And when we go live, we'll go live, and you guys can leave your comments and join the show. Douglas Huff is in the group. He's saying the first Bitcoin purchase was a large pizza for 10,000 Bitcoins. That's like the story of the grandmother who, or the kids that grew up and they had all the Mickey Mantle and the Babe Ruth baseball cards. They were in the spokes of the bicycle. You know, $1,000 cards. But yeah, Bitcoin. Yeah, you could have got it a couple of years ago for $200, and now it's at 8,000. Yeah, and they're predicting 10,000 by the end of the year. Yeah. So anyhow, I want to get back to this. That was kind of following up a story that we left hanging in the first segment. First segment, we kind of talked about a little bit of everything. We talked about Josh Gordon being reinstated by the NFL finally to hopefully help the Cleveland Browns win their first game of the year. We talked about Baker Mayfield and him grabbing his crotch and just he's a very emotional, very fired up football player for Oklahoma, perhaps the Heisman front-running favorite. He can't seem to keep himself out of trouble, kind of like LaVar Ball, but we'll get to that in a second. We talked about Terry Glenn, Ohio State wide receiver, the week of the big game against that team up north, passing away in a car accident, ejected from the vehicle, which almost always, to me, means that when the story finishes, you're going to find out that he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. I don't know if that's the case, but if it is, that's tragic, that's sad. Wear a damn seatbelt. I've been in a few car accidents, and you don't want to be smashed. I've actually been in a few darn car accidents. Thinking about it now. A few kind of brutal ones. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very happy that I'm okay. We'll see how that plays out. Prayers and condolences to Terry Glenn's family, loved ones. Talked about Omar Vizquel and Jim Thome possibly being first ballot Hall of Famers for Major League Baseball. Cleveland Indians players for a majority of their career. Two of the most beloved players in all of Cleveland sports history. Just had such a good run, so many great teams, so many great memories. And we talked about a whole bunch of other stuff in our previous segment. But this one, I want to talk about Donald Trump. I want to reset this just a little bit. So, how far back do I need to go on this story? All right. LaVar Ball is a loudmouth father of 3 kids. The oldest kid got drafted right at the top of the draft by the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think he even said, I don't even want to go in for workouts with the Celtics. I don't want to play there. He kind of pulled a Phillip Rivers, or an Eli Manning, where he kind of said, I want to play for the Giants. I'm not even going to talk to the Chargers. No thanks. So the dad is just this frothing loudmouth, talking about how he would destroy Michael Jordan in a one-on-one match. He won't sign with a shoe company. He starts his own damn shoe company, big baller brand. Just this guy. Like, it's his life. Live it. Live it how you want to. Do your thing. Do your thing, Papa Ball. But he's a big mouth. And I guess it was only a matter of time before big mouth LaVar Ball would end up crossing paths with loudmouth President Donald Trump. Oh, let's see if how we can break this story down. See, they're telling the story backwards. I don't want to break this thing up. Okay, players. All right. So, LaVar Ball has another kid who's not in the NBA. He's playing for UCLA. Oh, these names. There we go. Cody Riley, Jalen Hill, and LiAngelo Ball are playing basketball for the UCLA Bruins. UCLA, the players are over in China. A visit to Beijing. Well, that was present in Beijing. Where were they at? There we go. Players were arrested and questioned November 7th about stealing from high-end stores, including sunglasses from a Louis Vuitton store next to the team's hotel in Hangzhou, where the Bruins had been staying before leaving for Shanghai to face Georgia Tech. The players stole from 3 stores, released from custody after posting bail early 8th on the condition that they surrender their passports. They had been staying at a lakeside hotel in Hangzhou before flying home. As long as my boy's back here, I'm fine, LaVar Ball told ESPN. I'm happy with how things were handled. A lot of people like to say a lot of things that they thought happened over there. Like I told them, they try to make a big deal out of nothing sometimes. I'm from LA. I've seen a lot worse things happen than a guy taking some glasses. Dude, do you remember the story of Otto Warmbier, who was clowning around on a trip? They said that he took a poster off the wall and he was detained in North Korea, and they just flew him back to Cincinnati to die. They suspect he was tortured or beaten to death for clowning around general mayhem, non-violent tomfoolery. Yeah, you might be from LA and you might have seen a lot worse things happen than a guy taking some glasses. But try doing that in some of these backward dictator-driven countries. North Korea, China, Russia, any place where you got a dictator who on a whim can have you disappeared. I don't think you want to be messing around in those countries. LaVar Ball continues, my son has built up enough character that one bad decision doesn't define him. Now, if you can go back and say when he was 12 years old, he was shoplifting and stealing cars and going wild, then that's a different thing. Everybody gets stuck on the negativity of some things, and they get stuck on them too long. That's not me. I handle what's going on, then we go from there. Okay. So, this is where Donald Trump jumps in, as you know he was going to. President Donald Trump responded to LaVar Ball, this was on Sunday, via Twitter, after Ball downplayed Trump's involvement in getting LiAngelo Ball and 2 other detained UCLA men's basketball players back to the United States. Trump says, now that the 3 basketball players are out of China and saved from years in jail, LaVar Ball, the father of LiAngelo, is unaccepting of what I did for his son and that shoplifting is no big deal. I should have left them in jail. Favorited 263,000 times, retweeted 75,000 times, 91,000 comments. I actually wonder what would be happening to the Twitter brand if Trump wasn't on Twitter. Who else uses Twitter? I don't know. I don't know who else uses Twitter. But, you know, Trump does this. He's done this before. He did this with the anthem. With the players kneeling during the anthem. He just has this uncanny knack of picking petty fights and wanting to be praised. And he also gets absolutely destroyed by media that doesn't give him a chance, that portrays him, what I would say, completely unfairly. The same things they give their favorite person a pass on, they go bonkers and ballistic with him on. So I think part of this is Trump kind of saying, wait a second, I'm going to take my spotlight and I'm going to shine it on this issue right now. I'm going to put it right on here. Because if you recall, he had another tweet. He said, oh yeah, I worked hard to get them freed, to get them released and returned. I wonder if the players are going to thank me. You know, it's unbecoming of the position to kind of ask for some American citizen that you're helping to kiss your ring. It's a little unbecoming. But that's who Trump is. All through the primaries, he would say things, and a couple times, you'd just be like, "Oh, I wouldn't have went there," and he survives it all. he's got a keen political savvy and his finger on the pulse of what people are thinking. But it's just interesting for a guy that's been called a racist and a bigot and a xenophobe and a homophobe and every name you could be called. He just wanted to point out, hey, I'm getting these three black basketball players out of trouble in communist China. Pay attention to it. Just acknowledge that I put a little bit of effort in on that. You bash me for fake stuff that I never said, never did. Give me a little credit there. So in that way, I can understand it. LaVar Ball responded, who? He did that LeBron thing. So, President of the United States, who? Never heard of him. Just so petty. I mean, the petty thermometer, the petty barometer, the petty scale between LeBron, LaVar Ball, Donald Trump, the pettiness of all of these people, the attention-seeking, the braggadocio, the enormous ego. I guess it was only a matter of time before all these worlds converged. There's no way around it. So LaVar Ball says, who? He's the outspoken and divisive father of LiAngelo Ball and Los Angeles Lakers rookie Lonzo Ball. Tells ESPN's Arash Markazi on Friday when asked about Trump's involvement in the matter. What was he over there for? Don't tell me nothing. Everybody wants to make it seem like he helped me out. So anyway, they addressed the media. They did apologize. They did thank the president. They did. And then Trump doubles down on his tweets. He says, shoplifting is a very big deal in China, as it should be. 5 to 10 years in jail. But not to Father LaVar. Should have gotten his son out during my next trip to China instead. China told them why they were released. Very ungrateful. Yeah, so, picking and choosing based on how much ass you're going to kiss, that's kind of lame. Very lame. But calling out unfair coverage, I think, is totally fine. And that's a story with Trump. He gets some things right, and he goes about it the wrong way a lot of times. And then he says a few things from time to time that are just indefensible. You're like, oh, had me and then you lost me. But that's who he's been this whole time. This is what we got for the next 7 years, so deal with it. Anyway, players arrested, players stole. As long as my boy's back here, I'm fine. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's the end of the Donald Trump story. But this is also on the heels of Trump calling out, the sons of bitches should be fired. Fire them! Talking about the players that are going to take a knee during the national anthem. And then you have LaShawn McCoy doing stretches during the national anthem for the Buffalo Bills. You have Marshawn Lynch standing at attention for the Mexican national anthem and then sitting for the American national anthem. And it's a whole level of silly. And there were only a couple of players still doing this. The Cleveland Browns were one of them. And only a couple of other players were doing this in sports. In the NFL, there were only a couple. And when Trump decided to kind of poke the hornet's nest, they could not help themselves, the NFL players. Everybody wanted to be the first one to run around, and now I'm going to take a knee. Now I'll take a knee. My knee is a middle finger to that president. Great. Now we're getting more of the ESPN stuff that, there's many reasons why people are not going to as many football games and not watching ESPN. A lot of those reasons are nothing to do with Donald Trump. So that just is what it is. But one of those reasons is Donald Trump and people getting sick and tired of being lectured. The party line, what is it, ESPN, ABC, Disney, the leftist ABC crew. So much propaganda. GQ names, and these are obviously different organizations, but GQ naming Colin Kaepernick Citizen of the Year. Like, okay, so you're wearing pig police socks, You're wearing a Fidel Castro t-shirt and you're kneeling during the national anthem because you got a problem with this country. Okay. That's our citizen of the year. So, we're in a weird space. What did Caitlyn Jenner got an Arthur Ashe Courage Award from ESPN? Look, if you want to do your thing and you want to dress up how you want to dress up and you want to feel how you want to feel, who's to say what's right and wrong? We'll figure that out when we're gone, right? But that's a hero. I don't get why the push is so strong to continuously do what ESPN keeps doing. And I'm just waiting for Jamel Hill to thank the president and apologize for calling him a racist. And there's repercussions to the filth that spews out of everybody's mouth. And I think it's best to not get angry and get salty too fast. Sometimes just sit on the sidelines, listen, kind of study before you jump into it. Obviously, when you're covering live stories, breaking news, you got to come up with whatever you can, the quickest that you can. And there's a lot of times you'd like to retract things that you said. You'd like to change things that you said. That's just the nature of doing audio, doing video, those are consequences of living in 2017, especially if you're doing anything on a public scale. There's always going to be a lot of times where you'd like to undo or redo some stuff. So, message to the rest of, and I'll wrap it up on this point. I'm kind of torn. I have two different me's, me and also me. Me, also me. Me, oh my gosh, the frothing lunatic left needs to chill out and just accept that their preferred candidate who rigged their primary against Bernie Sanders lost. Get over it. It's done. This is the president. Deal with it and move on. And the other part of me thinks it's hilarious how people are wearing pink hats and everything's an outrage and Russia is behind this election or something. So me, also me, it's like, come on, we got serious stuff we need to attend to as a country. And the other me is like, this is hilarious. Just enjoy this. And I was having this debate with a former quarterback I used to play football with. If you're watching, you'll know who you are. We'll leave it there. And talking about, Donald Trump and he's indefensible or whatever. I said, yeah, but he has his finger on the pulse of something. He speaks to what a lot of people are saying. It might be petty, and it might be needy, and it might be childish. But getting into a third grade style war of words with Kim Jong, was it Il or Un? With North Korea? I would never cut. Oh, it's a shame to see that you called me. Wait, hang on. What is that tweet? Hang on, I'm gonna find this tweet real quick because this was an interesting one. Ah, here we go. I gotta set this up. Oh. Let's see. Trump tweets. Oh my gosh. I need a keyboard where I can reach it. Okay, here we go. This is so good. Donald Trump said, when will all the haters on Twitter? When will all the haters and fools out there realize that having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing? They're always playing politics, bad for our country. I want to solve North Korea, Syria, Ukraine, terrorism, and Russia can greatly help. Tweeted that from Vietnam. Where's the... There we go. Wait, where... There you go. Kim Jong-un, the war of words between him and Trump. There we go. Dotard is how the Korean Central News Agency, North Korea's state-run media, translates the Korean word for old lunatic. And it's the second time North Korea has used this. The first time was in September when Kim himself said, "I will surely indefinitely tame the mentally deranged U.S. dotard with fire." Trump takes to Twitter to hit back. Why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? Oh well, I try so hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen. All right, this is the conversation I had with the quarterback today. We were going back and forth in one of the threads in the Unhappy Hour. And I said, maybe it's this kind of ridiculous back and forth, recess, 7-year-old, third grade infighting that it's going to take to kind of be very out there, to be very firm, aggressive, and once again, I said this before, but like poking the bear, or kind of poking at the hornet's nest. This hornet's nest in North Korea has been a problem for a long time, and Trump is he's just picking at the scab. He's picking at the scab. That's what he does. He's a troll. So me and other me says, "Come on, we have important stuff to go and do. Stop it." And the other part is kind of telling that group, he's a troll. That's what he does. He lays out the breadcrumbs, and you follow him into the trap every time. Stop being so stupid and falling for it. Other me is like, shh. It's picking the scab that this needs to happen. So he's over there in Asia, bouncing around all these different countries, and basically one of the things he's been saying for a long time is North Korea has to be solved. What's happening cannot continue. I don't know. I mean, who knows? If there's nuclear war tomorrow, maybe I would reconsider what that strategy was graded as. Because right now it seems interesting that at least he's addressing the issue head on and he's forcing people to talk about it. He steers the conversation, and in public relations, when you can steer the conversation, you got something. So, I think it was important for Trump to hit back at ESPN and Jamel Hill and all of these sports, all of these players, the Kaepernick, when pressed on the issue. And my greatest problem with Kaepernick is just there's a very lazy, intellectually vapid, America really sucks and everything, lacking specifics. And Trump called him out on it. He's like, shut up. It's 2017. We all have the same chance as anybody else. Nobody here was a slave. Nobody here owned a slave. You're trying to blame your current day problems on things that happened to people that weren't you or me. That's not it. Suck it up, Buttercup. Figure out your life. Get on board. This is the greatest country. We have great... This is just amazing. What would Thomas Jefferson, what would Thomas Paine, what would anybody named Thomas, what would Ben Franklin, what would these people be doing with Twitter and Facebook? To communicate with the world instantaneously? Oh, we have something. We have an exchange, a free flow of ideas, and I love it. So, in the sports world, I don't blame Trump for having an opinion. Oh, well, there's serious things happening in the world. Yeah. I mean, you can't also keep up to date on what's happening in sports, especially when it's a political stance, kind of quasi-coordinated by the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, all that stuff. The kneeling and it's just, you guys need to stop falling for Trump. This is what he does. All right. So anyway, we'll just see how this goes. We'll see what happens with North Korea. Others think that short and fat insult did more damage than the suggestion of friendship can repair. The North Koreans and, of course, Kim Jong-un will look at that as a personal attack. Well, of course. He's calling him a dotard. It's very childish. But it's also perhaps exactly what we need. There's a story I wanted to share, and I probably did this wrong because I wanted to do it during the Josh Gordon segment. It's maybe so, maybe not. Let me see if I can pull this thing up here. And, but I mean, I guess this is as good of a time as any to bring this up because this is a Chinese proverb. This actually bookends the segment really well, and we'll wrap it up here. I have this maybe so, maybe not how it bookends. I'll get back to it. Any more questions, type them below. I'm going to jump in here. Have you noticed all the new player military commercials to try and patch things up and how empty these stadiums are on Sundays? Once again, if you want to call half of America a basket of deplorables, don't be surprised if half the people are going to stop watching your product. It's chronic traumatic encephalopathy, repeated brain injuries, brain bruises leading to long-term problems, suicide, anger, rage issues, forgetfulness. There's serious permanent damage that's being done to some of these football players, and they're learning it more and more than ever before. That is obviously a key factor in what's happening with empty stadiums on Sundays. Winless Browns teams don't help. That stadium would still be packed if they were 9-1. But it's a lot of stuff. But when you're fighting for market share and you're fighting to get that audience and to get people to want to spend money and to feel connected to the team, don't disrespect that song and that flag, that anthem. And now my libertarian friends would get on me for this, like, oh, you statist. Okay, well, I do believe in borders. I lock my door. It's not a free-flowing place. I'm sovereign in my home. You don't have the right to it. So, yeah, you put up borders. Cheering on a flag, the symbol of a pride. But it really is. It's a lot like sports teams. Maybe it is irrational. I cheer for that flag of that country because of where they drew that line 650 years ago. Why do we cheer for anything? I mean, look at the expansion teams in sports. You have no history with that team. You're starting a history and you're going to cheer for them. Maybe your kids will. Maybe the grandkids will. But this is the parable I had pulled up in front of me I want to talk about with Josh Gordon because maybe him coming back will be exactly what the Browns need. Maybe Josh Gordon coming back is going to be, just another disappointment. Maybe he'll come back for a couple games and get traded for something less risky. I don't know. But it just reminded me of this. I saw this. I looked it up, and now it's coming back around because, maybe Josh Gordon losing a couple years, maybe that saved his life. Who knows how hardcore he was hitting it on the side, Maybe Josh Gordon's demons were going to take him off the cliff and would have killed him. I think that's pretty much what Chris Carter was alluding to about himself in his career. So maybe this was the best thing that happened to him. Maybe it'll be the best thing that happened to the Browns. Maybe he'll be the spark that they need. Truth is, you just never know. And the conversation I had with my quarterback friend about Trump, I said, hey, maybe so, maybe not. Maybe Trump's exactly what's needed to pick that scab and find out it's infected underneath there. Then you can deal with it. Instead of pretending everything's fine, then it gets a lot worse later on. Maybe this is exactly the president we need at this time. But regarding Josh Gordon, regarding all this, and regarding the trip to China with the UCLA and the Ball kids and dad, LaVar Ball, I just want to read this to you. Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see. There's an ancient Chinese proverb that goes something like this. A farmer and his son had a beloved stallion who helped the family earn a living. One day the horse ran away and their neighbors exclaimed, "Your horse ran away. What terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." A few days later the horse returned home leading a few wild mares back to the farm as well. The neighbors shouted out, "Your horse has returned," and brought several more horses home with him. What great luck! The farmer replied, "Maybe so. Maybe not. We'll see." Later that week, the farmer's son was trying to break one of the mares, and she threw him to the ground, breaking his leg. The villagers cried, "Your son broke his leg! What terrible luck!" The farmer replied, "Maybe so. Maybe not. We'll see." A few weeks later, soldiers from the National Army marched through town, recruiting all the able-bodied boys for the army. They did not take the farmer's son, still recovering from his injury. Friends shouted, "Your boy is spared! What tremendous luck!" To which the farmer replied, "Maybe so. Maybe not. We'll see." The moral of this story is, of course, that no event in and of itself can truly be judged as good or bad, lucky or unlucky, fortunate or unfortunate, but that only time will tell the whole story. Additionally, no one really lives long enough to find out the whole story, so it could be considered a great waste of time to judge minor inconveniences as misfortunes or to invest tons of energy into things that look outstanding on the surface but may not pay off in the end. The wiser thing, then, is to live life in moderation, keeping as even a temperament as possible, taking all things in stride, whether they originally appear to be good or bad. Life is much more comfortable and comforting if we merely accept what we're given and make the best of our life circumstances. Rather than always having to pass judgment on things and declare them as good or bad, it would be better to just sit back and say, "It will be interesting to see what happens." So I'll say that today. It will be interesting to see what happens with Josh Gordon. It will be interesting to see what happens with LaVar Ball and LiAngelo Ball and all of the Ball family. Lonzo Ball. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Donald Trump and geopolitical relations. It'll be interesting to see if the NFL fans continue to tune out or if they stay tuning in, if there will be a long-term ramification to what's happened over the past 2 years now. It'll be interesting to see the face of cable and the partisan news networks that was the other conversation I got into. Alt left and alt right. I'm like, yeah, you see, the problem is the alt left, screaming, frothing, angry people who say you either must believe the things that I believe or you're literally Hitler. And I think it would be best to just sit back and say, it will be interesting to see what happens. There is another proverb that says, "May you live in interesting times." I don't know if it's Confucius or not, but it's both a blessing and a curse. May you live in interesting times. You know, it's like, man, I hope you live at a time when you have instant connection at your fingertips to anything you could have ever been interested in ever. Whatever you want to do, you click it right there. Just click it. It's easy. But then the curse is, may you live in interesting times. We're so dependent on this stuff. I mean, do we know how to do much of anything if we had to do it again? It's something to consider. And there's a whole batch of different challenges when the world is connected the way that it is. It's an interesting time indeed. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. I'd say it is. It merely is. And it will be interesting to see what happens. So, thank you for watching. My name is Brian Engelman. This is the Unhappy Hour. Go Cavs, go Browns, go Buckeyes. Go Indians. Follow us on Twitter at American_media_, Instagram.com/The New American Media. That's more pop political stuff and current events, with a whole bunch of other stuff mixed in. It's a good page, good site. All sports would be Instagram.com/The Unhappy Hour. Great, great page. Invite your friends, by the way. Subscribe, youtube.com/The New American Media. Go to vid.me/The New American Media. It's our secondary site. We're just starting to populate it with some content. We might go back and put some fun videos up there. Facebook.com/The New American Media. And do a search for our private group, The New American Media. Do the search. It's the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, a support group. All right, guys and girls, thank you so much for watching. It's good to see the Cavs starting to play a little bit better, as we knew they would. Hopefully the Browns can break this streak. Wait a minute. Did Kyrie Irving just drop 47 points and beat the Mavericks in overtime? Yeah. Oh, okay. Boston Celtics president of basketball operations Danny Ainge with a playful tweet after Kyrie Irving scored 47 points on 16 of 22 shooting in Boston's overtime win over Dallas, winning 16 straight games. Danny Ainge says, maybe the world is flat. Kyrie Irving, Celtic world. Okay. Well, it still upsets me to know that Kyrie Irving wanted out of Cleveland. Being spurned like that, that sucks. We'll make a great story in the finals, should we get there. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace.